Welcome to Simply Caroline, a podcast dedicated to women empowerment where we will discuss a bunch of different subjects such as life, parenting, love, business, money, relationships, healing, recovery, addiction, entrepreneurship, and so much more. A podcast I'll do my best to keep simple, fun, and relatable and bring you tools to help you better your life. So thank you for being here. And here's your host, myself, Caroline Blanchard. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us again this week. And this week, I have a fantastic speaker who is like the epiphany of dynamic for women. And I can say that because I follow her very closely on all of the social media platforms she's on. And oh my goodness, if you need a lift, just start following her. Diane Rolston, welcome to my show.
Thank you. And thank you for that lovely intro.
Yes. So Diane, I know that one of the things that you excel at is really helping women who feel overwhelmed by, their business circumstances or whatever, and mainly business women. Mm-hmm. What brought you to do this?
Yeah, thanks for asking. That's actually it can seem like it will bring out a really long answer, but I'll try to keep it short. I grew up to a blue collar family, and in school, I was the one that they sat beside, the struggling kid, the new kid, the bullied kid. And in sports, I was often the captain, encouraging my teammates and setting an example for the level that we're supposed to be at. And I was told that I was a leader from a young age, and I thrived in it. It was really good. But I needed clarity on what to do with it, because it's like, what do you do with being a leader? Like, what kind of example can you be for others? What kind of jobs can you have as a leader? And sometimes being a leader meant that you were friends with everyone, but you sat alone on a Saturday night. Mm-hmm. I knew everyone in the school, but it wasn't like people weren't reaching out to me as much. And what I found in moving forward in my career in different areas of life, in the women that I coach and the women I talk to after events, is that it's lonely at the top. It's so lonely at the top. And when you are working for someone, either in a company or you have your own company, you have this high expectation for yourself and you're this leader, but it's not always easy to be there. And as I went through my careers and that, I realized I just can't figure this out myself, even though I may be smart. And a lot of your listeners are going to be smart women, high achieving women, but they're like, I just don't know where to go. So I said to myself one day, Diane, I know you're smart, but you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. That Les Brown quote.
That's good.
And
yeah.
So I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know why I'm lacking energy. I don't know why I'm like reaching for the wine at night. What is missing? And so I hired a coach. And in hiring a coach, I realized, now I see. It's not just business and life. There's 10 areas of life. Well, actually, I say 10 now because at the time I knew 8 areas. And so she really helped me to stand in my gifts rather than try to just fly under the radar. And I see that in a lot of leaders and high achieving women is it's safer to fly under the radar because no one wants to cut you down. But I was like, but what about all the powerful women out there that really need to step up? And we need them in the world to make a change, right? Everyone, the world's a bit crazy right now. And if we had a little bit more feminine power or women in leadership roles, things would be different. And so what I realized is when I could be in alignment with my values, in resonance with who I am, and really step into my zone of genius, my core competencies, whatever you want to call them, then I'd be at my happiest and I could help more people. And so that's where I took my leadership and my coaching and my speaking, and I melded them into the business that I started. And it's funny because I did all of that while having children. I basically launched a business and birthed my first child at the same time. And so it's so crazy how far I've come. to think now, okay, I'm coaching one-on-one all these hundreds of women, and I've done all of these talks, and I run my Dynamic Women in my Dynamic Women Global Club, and I've done over like 500 events, and I have a podcast of over 140 episodes, and
7 books.
7. Oh, thank you. I forgot about my book. 7 books.
That honestly, that I'm like, wow, because you need to take time off to write a book. Yes.
Yes, and I love coming up with what's the faster, more efficient, easier, more enjoyable way to do it. And actually, my first book, I did it in 90 days. From I'm writing this book to here's the book printed for 350 women at a conference in Washington that I was opening and closing keynoting for. That was 90 days. And that's because I told them I had a book when I didn't have a book. And I wanted to do that Oprah moment. You get a book and you get a book. And they thought that was amazing. And I hung up the phone and went, crap, I don't even have a book. So I better write that book that they just bought. So yeah, there's a lot of things to do. And as I've grown over the years, I think the one thing that's really helped me is as I've gained success, as I've become more confident, it's not about now me not needing coaches. It's actually need more, because I see, and this comes maybe from my athletic background. I was a competitive rugby player, soccer player. I still play soccer.
Yay.
I saw the difference that they can make, and the best sports coaches I ever had were the ones that would cut me down and tell me honestly what I needed to do, but then built me up twice as high. And so I'm honored that from that little girl that was placed beside that bullied kid, struggling kid, that I now get to be beside female leaders, high achievers, business owners, and really be their champion and allow them to step into their greatest selves.
Yeah, and what I find amazing is that, there's you had circumstances that put you in a leader position when you were young, or helping the kid in need. But you also embraced it and you went full on in it, and you never gave up, and you just always kept on going. And that I find really, that is where you differentiate yourself from others, because there's a difference between having opportunities and not seizing them, and then going for it and being like, yes, I'm going to do that. And you're absolutely right about coaching, which is funny because I play soccer as well, but I started in my 40s. So
congratulations.
I just started to, have have something to do, like build a different network. So it was pretty hilarious at first. But yeah, the best coaches in sports, and it's something that we get really for sports. Hockey, let's say in Canada, it's really big. So if a hockey team loses too much, the first thing is like, oh, the coach is going to get replaced. So in sports, we get it, that it's really the coach that holds everything together. But then in business, sometimes, especially I feel, well, I'm not going to compare it because I've never been a man, but for women, especially when we're high achievers and we're used to, like, we run the house, the kids, the this, the that, it's hard to say, I need a coach, because we feel like we should be able to do that. And it's all of the opposite. Like, actually, strength is really reaching out and say, I need a coach. I need someone to really, focus, look at what my strengths are and help me develop them even better, instead of like focusing on what's not working. So, and I know you coach people very successfully. So what would you say, I'm just throwing you a question here, what would you say is the most common weakness that high achievers bring you? Like when they say, Diane, I'm stuck, I hit a wall, I hit a ceiling. What's the common challenge?
Yeah. And this is, I would say, common for all women. But when I do have these ladies come to work with me, they are measuring their life according to their success. And that may seem so simple, like, well, yeah, you have success and we measure it according. But what happens is we are trying to strive for the success, but success is fleeting. Success only happens in the moment of achievement, in that, like, I got the promotion, I just published that book. But the other piece of it is we don't celebrate enough. And so when we're not celebrating, what was the point of reaching for that success? If we're not going to celebrate it, we miss out completely on the motivation of it. And that motivation is what's going to push us through the hard part to get to the next goal that we have. However, the women come to me and they say, isn't there more, Diane? Is it like, what? There's more. Isn't there more? Like, what am I missing? And maybe I need to do this now. Maybe I need to do this now. But when I have them measure their life according to satisfaction rather than success, that helps them to have fulfillment. That helps them to be content. That helps them to stop looking outside for achievement and their worth, right? Because if we're only happy and successful when we're achieving, and that's where our worth comes from, what happens when we take a pause to have a child? Our whole worth is gone. And
yes,
so
and you realize that no one will tell you congratulations at the end of the day. You do a whole full day and you get back up and you start again.
And I realize that I have this program dynamic year that my clients and I do every single year. And I take 2 other coaches through it. And the purpose for that is so that I can get the benefit of the program as well. And in that, we create guidelines and a 1-page plan. But the piece that I want to refer to is we talk about our achievements and our disappointments from the previous year. And I said, well, I didn't achieve much last year. And the other coaches said, Diane, you did that and this and this and this. I said, well, yeah, but whatever. Kind of like, whatever, I wrote a book, whatever, I started a podcast, whatever, I did that, like, no big deal. But what they pointed out is, yeah, but you missed one major thing. And I said, what? And they're like, you had a baby last year. And I said, yeah, but that was going to happen anyway, because I was pregnant and the baby's got to come out, right? And they're like, but you grew a human in you. And I was like, yeah, but, and you nursed the baby and you kept the baby alive and you still served your clients. You only took 3 weeks off. You still serve your clients and you had a baby and you managed to balance it. And you did this and this and this. And I was like, oh, right.
And you won awards in between.
Yeah, and I like, didn't look at that as an achievement.
Motherpreneur. You've when you do something, you do it at the top level of it. So we tend to forget that, and it's so I don't want to say, like, it's a hard, looking for the word. I want to say it's so weird we all do that. I don't know if it's because when you're such a high achiever, you always feel like you can do more, or if it comes back to saying what you said, the measure of success is really like in the moment that it happens, but that's only a moment, and then after you kind of forget and you're like, oh well, I'm on to
and
the
then you're
next
striving
thing.
Yeah, you're striving for more and more and more, and your schedule fills up, and then you're not taking care of your health. It's like, when was the last time you had fun? How's your marriage going? Do you have the, things organized as you want them to be? How's your spiritual life going? And have you hung out with your girlfriends recently? And how's your personal development? Like, all these other things get pushed aside because our main worth comes from achievement in business or career. And that's great. But when that's all there is, it's so limited. And so instead of like, when I waiting for that moment, you get to have happiness now, and you get to have happiness on every single day on the way to your major goals.
Yeah. That's, for me, that's a big part that has changed in the last, I would say it was a process, but I really, really did it in 2022. It's to try to balance, every part of my life, and not just focus on business, because business is going well. And, you can measure business and finances because it's numbers. So it's easy to measure. Are you up or down?
Yeah.
But, establishing your own definition of success for the rest can be quite hard. And I realized that one of my definitions were, being healthy and happy, which seems so simple. But that's like, it's all in the little moments of like not feeling the guilt of like, I didn't give enough to my child today or this month, or, you know, those moments, try to be like present in the moment. So I did that intentionally this year, and I feel
Good.
like, you know, it's probably going to be my most successful year. But again, it's according to my definition, which is, you know, I think that to know if you're successful, you have to have your own definition first. And women, we tend to, you know, um, we tend in society to want to show, I don't want to say show off, but almost like we have to show big numbers because we feel like we always have to do more to show that, you know, I'm a top. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to what you say to balance. And, you know, I want to get back to, you created a baby. It's almost like when we're a woman, it's something that it's going to happen. So you take it almost like, well, that's going to be a phase of life and it's going to happen. But it's not a small achievement. It's huge. Even if, you know, you would only create a baby and raise that person, that would be a full-time job in itself. So with everything that is happening around, it's even like kudos to you, because I know that you're in a lot of different projects. But for now, what's your biggest project that you're on at the moment, I will say, because I know you're always into quite a bunch.
Well, I've got a couple of things that my team and I are working on right now. One of them is the Dynamic Women in Leadership Summit that's coming up. We're actually going to do a few summits every year. The reason is that I want more women to step into leadership roles, not necessarily at their like business, but just in their lives, like to be the CEO of their lives and to be able to step into that with authenticity and power and be unapologetically themselves. And the best way to do that is by women seeing others who have done it, learning from others, and not just, again, in business, but in all areas of life. And when women unite, right? When women unite, this synergy is created. I oftentimes, when I'm speaking to groups of 10 or to 10,000, I talk about the idea of seeing a flock of geese flying, and they fly in that V because of synergy, because it's easier to go forward. But not just that, right? As women, we're stronger in a pack. We're stronger in a flock because we can cheer each other on. When you hear the geese honking, they're cheering on the leader. And that's what we need to do. So the Dynamic Women in Leadership Summit, we're going to cover how to move ahead in all areas of life. Whether you're busy or you have lots of aspirations, it's going to be a mix of trainings and interviews and panels so that, you know, we do cover and come at it from different angles. That's really important to me from my curriculum development background. And each of the women that I'm going to bring, they're curated there and they're going to bring their best content. The interviewers are going to ask those burning questions. And I really want to make this accessible to everyone. So it's actually a free summit.
Wow. Good for
it's 2 days. April 8th and 9th is the next one coming up. And so I encourage any woman who wants to learn and grow, and we should all be in that growth mindset. I encourage them to participate.
Yes, and we're not just talking business here. We're talking in general to better yourself, you know, and I feel like when you actually start intentionally putting work on yourself to better yourself, things just start clicking and start happening easier. And you know, there's things right now that I am experiencing that I used to stress over and panic over. And now I'm like, oh, it's happening and it's so much smoother. And that for me, you know, in those moments, I'm like, wow, that's success because I used to sweat on that and now I'm not anymore. But that's really because you start paying attention and you start doing it more intentionally and you start getting more resources. And there's so many people out there that want to give you the right tools, you know, and this, I'm sure that in that summit, we will get tons of amazing tools. So besides the summit, and I'm saying beside as if it's not a huge undertaking. Besides that, Diane, what are you doing on the weekends? No, I'm joking.
Well, there is another project that we're doing this year. I put out Dynamic Women's Secrets books. The first one was on success. The second one was on confidence. Last year, we did not put out a book, reason being my father passed away. And while I put out a book about 3 months after he passed away, I really needed some space. And so I wanted to honor that for myself. But I'm really excited this year that my team and I were going to put together Dynamic Women Trailblazer Secrets. And the reason why I wanted to do the Trailblazer Secrets is, I'm showing up, or not even just the Trailblazer Secrets, but these books, is that I show up to events and I sell my Dynamic You book. But I have so many stories from clients and so many stories from women I collaborate with or connect with that I was telling their stories, but I thought they should tell their own stories. And so with this collaborative book, it's an opportunity for me to give a platform to other women and their stories and their secrets on whatever our topic is. So this time, how to be a trailblazer. And so, network marketers, CEOs, small business owners, women who are in a certain industry all their own, women who are stay-at-home moms, they get a platform to share, how can you be a trailblazer in my industry? How can you blaze a trail with some secrets or stories that I'm going to share? And the coolest thing is, I'm going to grab my copy. The coolest thing is when the woman holds the book for the first time and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm an author. Like that moment, that's for me, like to be able to give a woman that opportunity. And even if she has written a bunch of books by herself, that opportunity for me to carry her story, to sell the books at events that I'm hosting or conferences I'm speaking at, to be able to carry their stories and spread the news of these women, it's like I feel like it's my duty. I've been given a platform. I should carry these women with me. And so there'll be a third book coming out this year. So the women that are going to be part of it get to be published in 2022, which is really exciting. And that's the same with the summit. I do my own workshops. I do my own events. I'm the solo speaker for a whole day, 2 days, many weeks. But the fact that I can give a platform and a voice for other women, that's really important to me.
No, and I love how you really believe in collaboration. And I think that this is something that, we didn't do enough in the past.
Yeah.
And I see it more and more happening, women collaborating together, and it's going to be crazy. In 10 years, if we keep going like that, it's going to be like things are going to change. It's just going to be that much better because collaboration, brings a power that you don't have alone. And that's just a reality. And, I've done a book on collaborations like that as well. And did you get the comment of like, well, Diane, why would someone want to read my story?
All the time.
I know, eh?
All the time. What would I write about? Why would someone want to read what I have to say? I'm a nobody. I don't have a platform like you. Oh my, I've heard every excuse in the book. And that's why going through the process with me is different, because I've been in other people's collaborative books and I'm not knocking them, but I'm coming from this place of coaching and curriculum. And so just like I was the kid sitting beside the bullied kid, the struggling kid, I want to sit beside the women that don't think they can write it. And so we actually have a writing course, what strategy, if you want this for your business, what strategy can you use to boomerang business back to you? And if you're struggling with what to write, then here are some ideas to get you going. And so I don't just let people go off and, do whatever. I really give them the tools that they need to be able to do it. And then the next excuses I hear, yeah, but once I have it, what will I do with it? I have an author in the box program that you get when you're part of it. And that gives you the press releases, the social media posts to put out there, a wholesale copy sheet. And that's another thing. Not every book, if you're a part of it, will give you wholesale rates. well, how are you going to make money off of a book that you're in if you have to buy it the same price that everybody else does?
Mm.
So I offer wholesale rates. I give a whole bunch of strategies for how to make money with your book, how to use the book to bring in clients, 10 other opportunities that you can use with a book. Like, I'm constantly coming up with more and adding them in here because I don't want these to be the reasons why people hold themselves back, don't become an author, don't share their stories. One of the most powerful ones was a woman who came. I do talks all over Canada and the States. This one was from a woman out east. And I can remember her coming up to me and she said, Diane, I keep hearing that people like that I should maybe write a book. But the problem is, and tears were starting to stream down her face. I'm like, it's okay. Like, what's up? And she says, I'm dyslexic. I can't write. And I said, and she said, so I don't know what I'd even write about or how I'd write it. And I was like, that's not a problem. I didn't technically write my book. I taught a program that became the book. We have ways around this for you. I'm like, tell me about you. She told me how she runs a network marketing team of 1,000 women or 1,000 people on her team. I was like, whoa, you know a lot about success if you have 1,000 people under you. Wow, that's amazing. I want to know about that. And she's like, I could write about that. I said, you could, but you know what would be an even more powerful story? About how a dyslexic woman now has a team of 1,000 people and just wrote her first published story.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm in.
Yeah, I know. And what's beautiful as well, and I asked you this question because I got the same one so often, and I asked the same one before writing my own story. But it's just that there's always someone that will relate to you, and there is someone who needs to hear your story because they need to know that they're not alone, and it gives hope, it gives inspiration, and it gives a fact of what happened to you so that they can project themselves and be like, oh, you know what? If I keep going, this can happen. Like with this woman. Well, she probably opened the door to a lot of dyslexic people that no, you can be an author too one day. That's not going to stop you because we seem to think that this is a stopper to so many. It's a blocker to so many successes. But she's a good example. No, I really love the collaboration factor of that. And well, if someone wants to be part of your book, what's the process?
Well, they can just reach out to my team at dianerolston.com. There is information on my website, www.dianerolston.com. And I think it's / be an author. If you just go on my website, you'll see the be an author and you can go and learn more about that or reach out to my team.
Yeah, and I'll put everything with the podcast.
Wonderful.
But so personally, now your 2 kids that are not so young anymore, but they're not that old either. So how is that part of your life going?
It's wild and crazy all the time. They are 7 and 10, and I would say I'm primary in the caregiving, right? My husband works outside of the home. I can be home. I have flexibility in my schedule, which is great. And there's that balancing of time, right? Between what I want to do and me running around like a wild horse doing all this stuff and then having to be like, okay, come back to the barn and take care of the children and nurture them. So yeah, it's a big balancing act.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons I admire you too, and people follow her on Instagram because it's her real life. It's not just I was telling her in pre-interview, it's not a front. Like it's you see the true Diane. She's very authentic, but you can see how successful and dynamic she is. And yes, she does run into the same problems as us, other mothers. We all have those days of like, oh my goodness, what did I do to who?
Yeah.
And but you keep on going. And I think that one of the main thing is that you have the right tools and you have the right attitude and you have the right intentions. And that's what makes someone, for me anyway, stronger and more successful. It's how to know to get yourself out of a situation or into a situation.
Yeah.
Because, being a parent is hard for pretty much everyone, I think. There's
Yeah.
its gorgeous moments, but it's also challenging. And being a business person is challenging as well. And being a person in general is challenging. So mixing
Yeah.
all of this together, you have to
Yeah.
have the right tools.
And just to speak to your point of I do have struggles too. And I don't want, the worst thing is to think that, have people think that my life is perfect, because it definitely is not perfect. And, just like other high achievers and leaders, I have struggles like overcommitment and stress, anxiety. I've been slandered before. I've neglected my priorities. I'm not the healthiest I've ever been right now. I'm dealing with anxiety, obviously raising the kids, mom guilt, loss of a loved one. Like there's so many things that I struggle with. And so while I may not air my dirty laundry all over social media, because I don't feel like strangers have earned all of that, that privacy, I do air that with my clients, because they're like, oh, okay, so you're not perfect. Good. Okay. So even though I have struggles, I can still achieve. And that's the thing, that we can still achieve. And because I have the struggles and I'm open about it, it helps me to put myself in the position of my clients as well, and come up with strategies for them, because I've been there,
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying, and with the point that you're authentic, that's what people
Yeah.
want. They want to see someone who's real. And I never saw you pretend for one time that you were perfect. So that's where my
Good.
my comments are
Good.
coming.
Because I might have, when I was younger, right? I
Uh-huh.
always not pretended I was perfect, but I always put on a happy face. And I just put on your big girl panties and keep going, and head down. And I didn't necessarily ask for help. I didn't show vulnerability, because as the captain of the team, as the president of a club, right, as the leader of something, it's like you got to hold everyone and everything together. But I realized that made a distance between me and others. And so showing the vulnerability, being authentic to how I'm actually feeling, is a benefit to everyone.
Yeah, and thanks to Brene Brown for that. I think she really opened the subject about vulnerability is not
Yeah.
weakness. And I was raised
No.
that vulnerability was weakness. Like don't
Mhm.
cry, don't show this, don't show that, be proud. It was really, I was raised into put your mask on. And I like this expression, put your big girl panties on. But
Yeah.
that basically was really associating vulnerability to weakness, which is not. It's all of
No,
the opposite. It takes so much strength to be
it does.
vulnerable and take the risk to put yourself out there, because that's basically what you're doing when you're vulnerable. It's like you put the risk to be judged and everything, and I find it takes so much strength. So thank you for doing that. And
Mm.
again, if anyone wants to get to know Diane more, I will put all of the information for her website. Contact her. She's an amazing coach. She has this free event April 8th and 9th. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Don't make excuses. Just go on it and do it, because money is not an excuse. So make the
Exactly.
time. You have time to plan ahead. And Diane, what would you leave our listeners with, like your last words for to have a great spring?
What I'd love to do actually is I often share in some of my talks, some of the myths that I keep hearing, and if I could just share 3 of those,
Absolutely.
I think that if people can bring those in, that will really make a big difference. And so the first myth I often see is people come to me and they say, okay, what do I need to change about myself? So myth number 1, if you want to reach your goals, if you want to be happier, you don't need to change yourself. You need to change your actions. Now, granted, if you're a terrible person and have terrible habits, all that, maybe you do, but it's your actions that really need to be changed. And you probably just need to step even further into who you are. Myth number 2 is that you can do it all yourself or Google and YouTube for the info that you need. Remember, four letters spells out Kate, but with a C. Cheerleading, accountability, teammates, and experts. That's how I've been able to get ahead. I had people cheering me on when I didn't believe in myself. I had the accountability when maybe I was procrastinating on something. I had teammates, people that I was collaborating with or with me along the journey, and I had experts to help me get there faster, to save time and money. And the last thing, which is really probably important for your listeners because they're busy people, the myth is you're too busy to take on anything else. The truth is you're too busy to take on the wrong things. You have the right amount of time for the right things. So I'll have people say, oh, I can't take that program. Oh, I can't write that book. Oh, I can't have a weekend away for myself. You could if you prioritized it. So I encourage everyone to kind of look at your life right now and think, okay, where do I need to change my actions? Where do I need to bring in one of the Kate pieces, cheerleading, accountability, teammates, or experts? And where would it be really good for me to start putting some time, energy, and money into the right things for my satisfaction, not my success?
I love that. You summarized it so well. Like, yes, amazing, because it's true. It's so true that once you start investing in the right things, it's almost like you're gaining time. And that's what I'm experiencing these days, which is like, I'm like, wow, there's that much time in a day. Like,
Yeah.
I get to actually have time, like downtime at the end of the day. It's pretty awesome. But yes, I would probably bubble wrap what you just said with get a coach because, sometimes we hear all of this and we feel it in our bones when we hear it, like, oh my gosh, she's so right. I need to do that. But then the podcast ends and you don't know what to do. You don't know where to start. Well, get a professional that will actually really take you by the hand and take you one step at a time. Like, we're being taught everything since we're little. You didn't get on a bike and start pedaling. Someone was holding your bike at first. So have someone to really guide you, and it's such an amazing investment. And there's amazing people like Diane out there who are, there to really help and guide and
Thank you.
help you have a better life. So Diane, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate your time so much because Diane is, in demand and always here and there and there. And so I feel lucky that she came on. Thank you. And to anyone who wants to reach her, I will put in her information. And thank you all for being on, listening to this podcast. I really appreciate you. And I will see you next week. Have a beautiful day.